Hey everyone, welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I am the host. And I want to thank you for tuning into this podcast, which is a podcast where I interview people and they share a bit of their story about how God helped them to overcome a difficult challenge or situation in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming. So again, I want to thank you for tuning in. And really quick, I want to let you all know that this podcast will now be premiering on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. No longer Mondays at 7 p.m., but Thursdays, all right, at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There will be a new episode every other week. So thank you for tuning in today, Thursday, and in the future on Thursday. In addition to that, I want to let you all know that you can follow me on Instagram now. It's at breakthrough_conversations. And in addition to that, I want to let you know that this podcast is also featured on Apple Podcasts. You'll just type in Breakthrough Conversations and you should see it pop up. So I just wanted to give you all that information before we hop into part 1 of this episode, y'all, titled An Immigrant's Story, featuring Kwesi Payne. Thank you again for tuning in. Enjoy this episode. Be blessed. Kwesi Payne.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we are going to talk today about just being an immigrant and what that was like.
It's being an immigrant.
I mean, what it was like for you and, just shedding light on just what it was like living in a whole different country,
Yes.
Compared to what it's like now here in America. So before we delve into that, you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, you pretty much covered all of it. My name is Kwesi. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I've been living in the United States, in Baltimore in particular, for 22 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Christian. I love God, and everything else just kind of falls in between.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never had to introduce myself. I don't have a bio or anything, so.
It's all good. We'll learn more about you as we, continue on with the episode. So, let's just start out with when you let me ask you, how long did you live in Trinidad and Tobago, which is where you're from?
Yes. So I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, born and raised, I'm sorry. So
we're not going down that rabbit hole today.
I'm sorry. So I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and I was there for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
20 years? Okay.
20 years.
So 20 years. So at 20 years old, you came over to America.
Yes.
What inspired that decision?
Education. Mm-hmm. I would visit. I had relatives that lived in New York, Virginia, different parts of the states. So I would visit for summer and stuff while I was in school growing up in Trinidad and Tobago. But then I had the opportunity, and I received a scholarship to come to Morgan State University for schooling. So
Okay.
yeah.
So before you came to America, you had already been to America.
Yes.
Because you had family that lived here.
Yes.
So do you remember a little bit of your experience, like your first time in America and what that was like for you?
I do remember again, because Trinidad is a Caribbean country, it's hot all the time. All the time. But one of my first memories was coming to New York during the summertime and just realizing how bright it was late.
Okay.
I used to think about it
like 7:00 in the evening. And
it's
the sun is
8:30. It's bright. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was actually one of the major differences for me. And then just like how relaxed everyone kind of seemed.
Okay.
When not relaxed, carefree.
Okay.
So that was one of my first memories, or one of my earliest memories of coming to New York, and then just like prices and different things like that.
Now, you're 20 years old, right? And you're in America for school. So you're about to be here for some time permanently, right? Talk to us about just your emotions at the time. Were you nervous? Were you looking forward to it? Tell us about that.
Okay, so that's a real complex situation.
Okay.
All right, so to answer that question, I have to go back to before. So I finished school in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm 19 years old. I'm completely finished with school. And at that point in time, I had just recently gotten saved, like saved for real.
Okay.
Not going to church, grew up in the church. My grandmother took me to church. I tell people my grandmother took me to church after she died.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
in that when she was alive, my grandmother, every Sunday, we went to the Anglican church. So my grandmother was part of the Mothers Union. They had their nice little, they reserved pews. She had a white dress she wore every Sunday. But every Sunday we would go to church.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother died, I was 17. And from 17, I remember my mother telling me, if your grandmother was alive, you'd be going to church right now. So I'd have to go to church. So I was almost going to church in memory of my grandmother.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
my grandmother took me to church even after she died. Because at that point, 17 years old, I knew the Bible, knew of the Bible, understood things from the Bible. But at that point in time, I can honestly say I wasn't invested. So did that for some time, and then around 17 I was still in school. I was finishing up I guess what we call advanced level classes in Trinidad and Tobago. So I was completing that, and as one of the oldest students in the school, I remember a teacher asking me and a couple friends to go speak. We at that point in time at our school, we had a religious instruction class. So they needed some of the upper level students to go talk to a group of the younger ones. So they sent me, of all people. I guess they didn't know who they were sending.
Okay.
So I just went, and like after that first occurrence, the students would keep asking us to come back, keep asking me. And one of my friends told me, he was like, you're not saved. I said, I know, but they keep asking me to come back. He's like, yeah, I don't have a problem with you talking to them, because again, I knew the Bible, but you need to be saved because you're playing a dangerous game spiritually. You're putting yourself out there, and you don't have, it's the way he described it is, you're putting yourself out there in a spiritual war, and you're not armored up.
That's good.
So,
You knew the Bible, but you weren't saved.
I knew
That's
the Bible,
an
but I wasn't
interesting
saved.
Statement. Yeah.
So, so fast forward, got saved, got baptized. I was 19. I got baptized around 19. And then I got a scholarship. And it felt at that point in time like I was excited about the opportunity, further my education, and make, just seizing the opportunities to better myself and to be able to do something more with life. And then one day I can distinctly remember sitting and I wasn't sitting. My mother had me washing her car. So I was washing her car. I just started crying. I was like, God, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know. I feel like I'm being uprooted from a safe place. I feel like, I'm saved. I found I'm now invested in church. I'm trying to grow in God. I'm now applying the understanding that I have of the Bible. And I'm digging even deeper. And God, it feels like you're taking all of this away from me. This is a conversation I'm having while I'm crying and washing this car.
Right.
So I was excited for the opportunity. I was nervous about the displacement. And to tell the truth, I was scared. I was like, I don't know anybody in Baltimore.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, matter of fact, until I got this scholarship, never heard of Baltimore.
Right.
Like, what is the Baltimore? You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I just had to, that was the one thing I just had to bear my soul and let God know how I felt.
Yeah.
So,
Now, when you got here, was there a culture shock?
oh, what was there? Yes,
Talk to us about
definitely. I
that.
mean, let's start with let's start with so I get to Baltimore, and it's a, for those of you that don't know, it's a being in Maryland, it's, you get that New York, New Jersey, Philly flavor coming down from the north, which I was familiar with
Okay,
because
right.
my
Your
summer
family.
times, and then you have that more, not far south, but that Virginia flavor, which I was also familiar with because I have a cousin that lives in
Yeah.
Virginia. But that right in the middle, that DCPG,
Hold up. Don't come for the
I'm
DCPG.
just saying,
Don't.
when my first day on campus and I saw a guy with rubber bands around his shoes, around his pants, and I'm like, what we doing here? And these college students walking around in Warner Brothers jackets, and I'm like,
That was the style
oh,
back then.
okay. And I'm like, what we doing right now? So like, it threw me. And then the Baltimore accent, like my very first day, we go into the cafeteria, and all right, we had the hot line, and then you had like your fast food line, and the lady behind it, you want a hot dog? I'm not sure, ma'am. Do I?
Do I?
Do I want a hot dog? Because honestly, I don't know what that is. I like a burger.
Yeah.
She was like, a hot dog. You want a hot dog? And she pointed at, I was like, oh, hot dog. Yeah, I'll take one of those too. Sure, why not? So accents, dress,
Yeah.
that stuff. And I can honestly say so those were the two immediate culture shocks, because those were visible, visible and audible. I could see just, yeah, I don't see myself dressing like that. I hope they don't ask me to put rubber bands around my pants. And then, the Bugs Bunny jackets, couldn't get with it.
What was the style back then, Kwesi?
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm saying it wasn't for me.
Right.
But then too, as a Christian, it was my biggest fear that I didn't want to lose ground. And I've never ran into people that were numb spiritually. Like, I've met people who, okay, I don't care about church. I'm good. Or I go to church. Like, again, I was that person. I went to church, but I'm not radical. I'm not, quote unquote, to use Christianese, I'm not on fire for God.
Right.
But I never met somebody that was like, I guess it was just a different way that it came off, like girls that were sexually aggressive and just like, whoa, wait a minute. What we doing? Growing up, coming from Trinidad and Tobago, a girl that was sexually aggressive like that, we had names for them.
Yeah.
But apparently everybody had that name up here, so I was just kind of thrown. So I found myself actually becoming quite recluse.
Yeah.
Didn't have a church to go to, so I just stayed in my room, and that's how, not to get too far off topic, but that's how now when I hear people say, I don't need the church, my body is the temple of God. I can read my Bible and study my Bible for myself. That's how I know that that's a false truth. Because experienced it for
Yeah.
a couple months.
Yeah.
You don't grow by yourself.
Absolutely.
Anything that grows on its own is a weed.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's good.
You
That's
know?
good. So those were some of the challenges that you faced regarding or around culture shock.
Yes.
What were some other challenges? I mean, you kind of hit on not having a church home right away. How was it making friends? Like, what was that like? And what were some of the other challenges that you had at the time?
So making friends has never been challenging for me to do. The challenge with making friends for me is, do I want to do it?
Okay.
So, excuse me, just through sports and it was easy for me to make friends. So when I came to Morgan State, we had the freshman introduction week or freshman orientation week. First thing I did was I found the basketball court. All right, so I got in, went to the open gym and we played, and was then able to meet a couple guys, and we spoke, and so we weren't friends, but at least now I had some familiar faces.
Yeah.
Some of these were upperclassmen that were here on campus doing God knows what. You know what I mean? But I was able to now associate with familiar faces. The question became, did I want to be friends? Because again, I'm trying to hold fast to what I understood at the time should be Christian values, or what I believed at the time should be Christian values. So I'll talk to them on when we go play ball. I'll see them in the gym, and we'll be cool. I'll see them on campus, and we'll be cool. Other than that, all right, I gotta stay in my safe space. This is I don't want too much of what you have coming in to pollute what I have.
Right.
That's how I thought about it. So to say they were my friends, not really. When I started at Morgan State, there were a whole bunch of Caribbean students. So that commonality supposedly kind of drew for a little bit. But even that, again, I'm so protective of my safe space. Making friends wasn't hard. I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I didn't really see a lot of people or experience a lot of people that vocalized the same passion, necessity for God that I had. So I'm like, all right, we could be cool, we could talk, we can hang out, we can, chop it up, but that's as far as it goes.
Right. I hear you with that.
So yeah.
Okay. So I want you to talk about at what point did you find a church home, and how did that happen?
Okay, that's a unique story. Like I feel like I have a lot of unique stories. They're not unique anymore. Like I said, started the school year, so it's August. I don't have a church home, so just waking up in the mornings, I'm reading my Bible before I go to class. My classes were crazy early, freshman. I'm trying to get them out the way. So I'm waking up like 6 in the morning. I'm reading my Bible, I pray, go to breakfast, whatever, go to classes, get my classes out the way. And I'm doing that. And I'm going to play ball. And I'm thinking I'm doing okay. And then one day I go into the gym and somebody makes me mad and I cuss them out. I mean, I go off, all the way off. Like,
wow.
And right as soon as I'm finished cussing them out, I walk straight out of the gym, go into my room and sat there and start crying. Because I realized that I think I'm doing something. I think I'm growing. I think I'm at least maintaining. And that was something that, cursing was something that I struggled with before I got saved. And not just cursing, but controlling my temper, my temperament. Not like I was a fighter or anything, just in general. And I felt like I could tell people whatever I want to, and whatever consequence happens. That was my thing. And I said, God, this is what I was scared of. I told you I didn't want to come out here and lose ground. Gotta find a church. Okay, this was like a Thursday or something. So now I'm on the hunt. I gotta find a church.
Yeah.
I don't have a car. I don't know anybody like that. You know what I mean? So I start looking around Morgan State. They had a on-campus ministry. Back then it was called the Morgan State University Christian Center.
Okay.
Now it's something different, like the interfaith, whatever. But it was a Christian center when I was there. So I said, Christian center, here I come. And I go that Sunday. And one of the things, sidebar. Before I left Trinidad, the movie School Days, G5G. Right. So the movie School Days, for whatever reason, I don't know what possessed my mother to watch School Days.
Okay.
They had the whole pledging thing,
Right.
and they were in the toilets, and they had them squeezing the bananas in the water and all this. And my mother looking at that and calls me aside and is like, don't let them do that to you, okay? I'm like, have you met me? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm good. You don't have. But then I go to the community, the Christian center for service that Sunday, and I feel like I walk into a probate. Like, it threw me off. So like,
a probate at the Christian Center. Okay.
Now it wasn't a probate,
Right.
but it felt like I'm going based off School Days.
Right.
Seeing these frat brothers walk around on campus. I mean, like, I get there and, so we had a sermonic hymn and all of this stuff. We're going to have a selection by brother such and such. Okay, brother comes up and sings. We're going to have a reading by brother such and such. Brother comes up and reads. The director for the Christian Center, he delivered a sermon. So, brother such and such did his thing. And now, at the end, we're going to have the brothers of whatever fraternity come up. So I'm like, oh, okay, the little men's choir action. Okay, all right. I'm not really a choir guy, but they came up and they did a step.
Oh gosh. And this is like a regular church service.
Yeah,
It's on a Sunday.
It's a Sunday. So I'm not
Now, had you been to any church in America prior to this moment?
Not one like that. So,
Okay.
Again, I have relatives, so I've been to church with my aunt and stuff like that. But again, I'm not near them, so I'm thinking to myself like, so I'm looking around to see. How sometimes you're in a different place.
Yeah.
So you gauge at least me. If I'm in a new place, I look at the reactions of the people around.
To see what they're, because am I the only one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to gauge, because how I've learned is, okay, based on the reactions of the people tells me the regularity of something like this.
Right.
So when I'm the only one with the what's going on face, I'm like, oh, this is regular.
This is regular.
This might not be a every Sunday thing, but it's not out of place.
Right.
Nobody else is bothered.
Interesting.
Okay, I won't be back.
Yeah.
That's what it boiled. I won't be back.
Yeah.
So okay, cross that one off the list. I got to find something else. And I remembered during the summertime, while I was there for orientation, there was a park close by, Heron Run Park. I went down there to play basketball, because, basketball was what I did. So and I remember seeing a church in that area. So I was like, let me go check this one out. All right. So, tip in at the back, sit in the back of the church, and but again, I'm gauging what I'm experiencing based on what I've experienced.
Yeah, right.
But I'm sitting in the back and I'm hearing people talking about just coming from the club, and I'm still drunk and I'm like,
Okay.
it's too many people. This is okay, it's just both of y'all talking like this. It's just these two young ladies, and it's just y'all talking like this.
Yeah.
But y'all too comfortable talking like this in the church.
Right.
Y'all not in the parking lot.
Yeah. They're inside.
You're in the church. Again, this is a young Christian, so I'm thinking to myself, if you're that comfortable talking about sinning in the church, I'm not sure how much conviction is coming out of the church to change lives.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Cross that one off the list. So now I go on so now I'm disappointed. I'm 0 for 2. I don't want to. All right, I'm gonna just fall back. Let me chill for a little bit. Something, God, you gotta. All right, God. Obviously, me going looking for it ain't it. I need you to bring it to me.
That's right.
So let me chill. It's around. So now this is like around homecoming week. It's actually the week after homecoming, and I see a flyer for a open mic discussion. Apparently, so for an open mic discussion to talk about the homecoming pep rally put on by some Christians. I said, oh, this might spark my interest. Let me go see. At least I'll run into some Christians. Let me hear what is the Christian thought on campus. Okay. So I'll go to this thing, and it's an open mic discussion, and I end up meeting some guys, and we start hanging out. Then, volleyball season, so I'll go to a volleyball game, and back then Morgan State was like the powerhouse in the conference, in the MEAC. So the championship game was being held, and I go to the championship game, and they win the championships. I'm like, cool. And then one of the guys I hung out with, he was like, oh yeah, you want to go meet one of my friends? She plays on the team. Oh, okay, well, so we're just hanging around.
Yeah.
Introduced me to Nicole. Nicole, this is my friend Kwesi. Kwesi, this is Nicole. This is we call her Coley. Oh, hi. You go to church?
Well, that was like our first question, right?
Yeah, that was, hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. You go to church? No, I've been looking for a church. So we hang out for the rest of the day. You should come to my church.
Yeah.
Okay, we hang out, whatever. So, okay, where's the church? Well, it's in the league for this. It's in the league. What's the league? Well, it's up the street, but they send rides. They pick us up from Blount on campus.
Yeah.
So hold on. So, yeah, they come meet us on campus and they shuttle us to the church. So I'm thinking, church van, church.
Right.
No, not that. So I get to Blount House that morning, and she meets me. Oh, hey. So I'm still waiting on a couple girls to come down, blah, blah, blah. The rides are here. They make the announcement from the front desk. The rides are here. Okay. Oh, hey, Pastor Lawrence. Pastor Lawrence, this is Kwesi. I invited him to the church.
And this is still Nikki.
Yeah, this is Nikki introducing me to Pastor Lawrence. I invited him to church. I'm waiting on a couple other people. He's like, well, you want to go now? Sure, why not? I don't know. And I met Nicole. I met Pastor Lawrence. In that day, I joined the church.
Wow.
I joined Living Waters that day. This was October, maybe early November of 2000.
Yeah.
I've been with Living Waters since then.
Wow. And for those who For those who don't know, Nicole is your wife
Now.
now.
Yes.
So that's just an interesting first encounter.
Yeah, you
know
go
what
to
I mean?
you want to
Thinking
come to
back.
church?
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, how did you just know, like, this is it?
I was praying and I asked God, I can't find it. It's not this is not something I can find. I can't find you. I know we hear all this stuff. I searched all over. I can't find God. I think when we come to that understanding, I think too many people now are basing their relationship with God on or their necessity for a church based on what it gives them,
Yeah.
based on
True.
what they get from it. So when we go church looking, especially coming out of this pandemic, we're going church looking. Okay, this I can network at this church.
Yeah.
I can this at this church, and these things are good, but they're not necessary. If we're going to church to find something, we'll miss God.
Yeah.
I think as Christians we need to understand Abraham wasn't looking for God. When we read Genesis, the accounts in Genesis, God comes to him and says, you need to get out of here to a land that I will show you.
Yeah.
When we understand that it's about the land that God will show us. Because that when the decision or when I was crying that day washing my mother's car talking about how can you pull me out of here, that's the one scripture that kept coming to mind.
Yeah.
I'm bringing you here. You've got to leave everything you're familiar with to a place that I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're determining should we join a church, should we remain a member at a church, not based on what God has shown us, but based on I've made an evaluation. I'm not happy here because the pastor's not preaching about what I want to preach about.
Yeah.
My son, my kids don't have there's not a this for my kids to go to. We don't do enough of this. We don't do enough of that. And we're sitting back making evaluations. And we're not asking God, is this the land you showed me?
Yeah.
So I pray, God, I can't find the church you want me to be in. I need you to bring it to me. And that first day that I went to Living Waters, no praise and worship team. Pastor Kimberly was leading praise and worship karaoke style. So Stephen Hurd and Darren, they had a mixtape. There was a
Yeah.
church
It was on the
mixtape playing, and Pastor Kimberly was just giving us prompts. Come on, y'all. Power belongs. Power belongs. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, this is different.
This is
Well, it's
Yeah.
not rubber bands on the jeans different, but this is
all
different.
right. All right.
I'm just saying, right? And it was college age
Yeah.
students, and like there wasn't any musicians. It was literally a mixtape. Pastor Kimberly talking over it. Pastor Lawrence came up and he preached. Then the mixtape came back on for us for the doxology to leave. And I'm like, but I remember even in that situation, I'm in praise and worship, and I close my eyes and I see me, and I don't dance. I don't dance. Let me say this clear. I don't dance. But I see me and a beam of light dancing in praise and worship with my eyes closed. That was the vision I had. And God said, because my mother, before I left Trinidad, even my mother or my godmother, somebody had given me, that whole thing with footprints in the sand. And well, the version that they had given me, they see the 2 footprints, one small, one big, and then the 2 footprints eventually line up. But then in the hardest part of the person's life, there was only one set of footprints. And then after that one set of footprints, that's when they see the two. But then the two sets of footprints, the smaller set grew until it almost matched the bigger set. But then the two footprints started looking, the footprints looked chaotic and helter skelter. And then at the end, the guy, the person that's had the dream asked, and he was like, where there was only one set of footprints in your life, it wasn't that I abandoned you, that's where I carried you. And then where the two, like just explaining, this is where we walk together, and then in the hard part of your life, this is where I carried you. And then coming out of that part, this is where you grew in me. And then the person says, well, what about where the footprints had no pattern and it looked helter-skelter? And God said, that's where we danced.
Wow.
And I remember reading that the day after I cussed the guy out in the gym. And I come home, come back to my room. It was a weekend, so my roommate was gone. He lived in Maryland, so I had the room to myself. And I remember crying, saying, God, this is what I was talking about. I don't want to lose you. And I remember reading this thing that my mom gave me, or whoever had given me. And I said, God, I want to have that experience with you where we can dance. And my first day at Living Waters, during karaoke, praise and worship, I had my eyes closed, and I see a vision of me and a beam of light dancing. And God says, this is where we're going to dance.
I love it.
Where am I going to go from there?
Exactly.
Like, if I go anywhere from there, I'm dumb.
Right.
You know, so that's how I found a church home.
I love it. I love it. That's a powerful story. At this point, you're quite settled in America.
Yeah.
How long have you been here now? You said 22 years, right?
22 years.
22 years.
Yep.
So you're married. You have 2 sons. Is this permanent?
Is what permanent?
You living here?
Oh, yeah.
It's permanent.
Yeah.
So
Wait. As opposed to what?
Going back to Trinidad.
To Trinidad?
Yeah.
To live? Nah.
No.
This is it.
So
unless God says differently, this is
unless
it.
God says differently.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you've been here this long, right? Over 2 decades. What
It
are
sounds
some
longer when you say it like
over
that.
2 decades? Decade just always sounds like a long time. What are things that you've noticed about yourself that have changed over the years, versus when you were in Trinidad? Just explain to us some of those changes that have taken place since you've been here.
Since I've been here, I think my level of understanding has I know my level of understanding has increased. In terms of if I run into a situation that I wouldn't have done it like that. Or where I'm from, that's not how we do things. We don't do that. To now it's like, yeah, it's not how I do things, but maybe they got a good reason for it.
Okay. Yeah.
Or even if I disagree with their reason, well, I disagree with their reason, but I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. You know, I found myself becoming more adjusted to that. You know, growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, certain homosexual lifestyle that wasn't even taboo. That was worse than taboo. That was just something you don't talk about.
Yeah.
That wasn't public. That wasn't acceptable. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, as I believe for most people, not just in the Caribbean, but in general. Now you're considered closed-minded, old fogey. You're considered all sorts of things if you speak out against that lifestyle. And I'm not saying at all that I'm in agreement with that lifestyle. I'm not. But I understand that everyone, if you're looking for God, He's going to find you. That's my firm belief. If you're the one looking for God, if you really want a relationship with God, and I'm not with a God of the Bible, I'm not talking about you want to have some spiritual connection to the universe and the energies.
Right.
I'm talking about you want to know God. He can find you in whatever mess you're in and clean you up.
That's right.
That's my belief.
That's right.
So when I see people that make decisions, live lifestyles, do things that are anti or contrary to what I believe now, I'm less likely to just excommunicate you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm less likely to just cast you off like, they need to get it together.
Right. Right.
You know, I think God is starting to show me that He's put Christians to help those people get it together. I think too many Christians, we look around and be like, ugh, sin. They need to get it together. I can't mess with them until they get it together.
Right. Right.
How they gonna do it then?
Right. Exactly.
How they gonna do it? At the same time, I've also found myself much less tolerant. It's crazy. It's almost a duality to the statement. I'm more understanding, but I'm less tolerant. Because if you know better and you don't do better, I don't have that same. Somebody that I don't think knows better, and it sounds, now that I'm saying it sounds real almost judgmental. Like, who am I to say that this person knows or doesn't know? But if you said that you've known better,
because you hold them to a different standard. Yeah.
Standard's totally different. And my mom says this about, or used to say this about me. I hope that she still does. I don't play games. I don't play games. And you mentioned my wife and my two boys. I don't play with them at all. I don't. If I think that you've intentionally done something that is not in their best interest, it's a long, hard road to get back anywhere with me. I think we're too willing to sacrifice family for friendships. Because
That's right.
oftentimes friendships bring networks and connections. And I've seen, or I believe that too many people are making decisions based on what they can get from it. So the things that they have, they lose to try to get something that they think they want.
Yeah.
So when I like you said, if I hold you in that closed circle, and that circle is really close, if you get into, and you don't get into that circle, I let you into that circle. When I've let you into that circle, your actions are held to extremely high standards. So that when people don't, or when they violate the standards of that circle and you get pushed out, it's a hard climb back in. You know? And I as a Christian, I marvel at Jesus with that. I do. And everybody talks about, oh wow, you know, Jesus knew Judas was going to betray him from the beginning, which he did, and he still let him walk with him, which he did. And that's admirable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I marvel at Jesus because I don't remember hearing any disciple around. Like, we talk about Peter because, you know, Peter was there and they talk about Peter's going to deny him. But I don't remember any other disciple until he got on the cross being mentioned in the vicinity. When the soldiers came to arrest him, everybody ran. Everybody ran.
True.
And Jesus died, resurrected, and came back and looked for them. He looked for them. For me, when you betray me like that, it's going to have to be God. It's going to have to be God. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Right.
But I know God is going to have to move my heart from there to there. I know that.
So would you say that's an area that you've just always been that way in that area? Like, does that have anything to do with your upbringing, your childhood, or is that just,
My family means a lot to me. My family's always meant a lot to me. One of the toughest times I've experienced in my 2+ decades here is a time when I felt like I was separated from my family. Not physically separated. The physical separation came at the beginning.
Right.
But there was a time where I felt emotionally distant from my family. It was hard for me. Because I know that if I'm separate, like, I know the value of family. I believe throughout the Old Testament, God was interested in a family. When he called Abraham, he separated Abraham from one family to create a family for himself. So family is really important to me. It's always been important to me. I just believe that your family is your first church. Your family is your first church. So that's where you should learn the importance of the things of God. That's where you learn of God. That's where you learn life. Your parents are your first teachers. Your parents are your first pastors. Your parents are your family is it. Should be it. So when that becomes, if that's endangered, I just believe, and not from a chauvinistic, it's not a man's role to protect the family. It's the family's role to protect the family. That's how I feel. It's the family's role to protect the family. So children shouldn't allow anybody to speak beneath of their family. Parents shouldn't allow, or adults shouldn't allow anyone, even within the family, to disrespect the family.
Yeah.
And I think, so there was a time where I think there was a disconnect with me and my family because the family is should be your first God experience, but it's not your ultimate God experience. God is your ultimate God experience. And so there was a time where my God experience clashed with my family experience. And my family I felt as though, this was a waiver, and it brought contention.
Wow. Well, that was part 1 of the episode titled An Immigrant Story featuring Kwesi Payne. And I want you to be sure to tune back in next Thursday on July 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see part 2. And if you haven't already, go ahead and share this episode with someone so that they may be encouraged. Hit like, subscribe to the channel Breakthrough Conversations. Until next time, everyone, be blessed and have a wonderful day.